Hello, Mr. Shaman. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Hello, Vinita. How are you doing?
Yeah, hello, sir. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. Hello, Miran. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good
Sir.
morning. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes and we'll start. So what we have discussed yesterday session, Simon.
We discussed about the
Yesterday, what you talked about?
inheritance,
Mm-hmm.
class extent,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and the
Okay. What else?
hierarchy class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Next. Even we talk about the final keywords. Yes or no?
Yes, yes,
Final
yes, and
final method, final class, all this we discuss.
yes.
So how method is different from constructor? Simon, how method is different from constructor?
In constructor, we're using what default, and in
Okay.
constructor, in method, we're building the method, right?
Mm-hmm. Did you all receive my materials and the recording session or not?
Still, we are not receiving, sir. I think I'm checking my mail, but still I didn't get it.
Okay.
Can I tell that means the answer difference between what is the difference
Yeah.
between the constructor and method?
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, in method, sir, we have that means we have to design the behavior of the method, how it works. And in a constructor, whenever we design any class, so we have to initialize the object of that class. So in a method, the method name should be maybe or may not be the same. That means it could be different as compared to the in constructor. But in the constructor, whenever we design any constructor, so the constructor name and the class name should be same. So that means it does not happens with the method. The method name should may be same or may not be the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the difference between instance variables and static variables?
Can it?
Yeah, tell me. Difference between instance variables and static variables.
Once we define the static variable, so that means the static variable, it's like a constant variable. That means we cannot change the value of variable, and it only executes at the time of whenever we, that means when the program is loaded. But as compared to the instance variable, we can we access those variables with the creation of objects, and it supports like a runtime.
Okay.
Is it correct or not? That is what inst.
Instance variables are basically object level variables and static is a class level variables. For
Okay.
instance variables, we need a object to initialize, and static variables, so we don't need any object. We can call it by using the class name. Static variable is basically will do initialize, which share the common data among all the object we create, and it loaded first before the instance variable is going to be initialized. Okay, now let me share my screen. Just give me a moment. Can you see my screen, Simon?
Yes, we
Okay.
can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we talked about final variables, final method, and final class. Practically also, we have proved that final variables cannot change its value, and final class cannot be extended by any one of subclasses, and final method cannot be reused again by the subclasses. Final method cannot be again reused by the subclass object. It should have only one time implementation, means only you can design only one time, not more than one time same methods. Let's try to discuss polymorphism today. So polymorphism is one of the object-oriented programming feature that allows to perform the single action in different way. For example, let's say we have a class animal that has a method called sound, right? As you know that this is a generic class, so we cannot give it a implementations like roar, meowing. We have to give a generic messages, right? So what exactly I want to do is I just want to use the same methods. I just want to use the same common method for all the different types of animals, right? Because as it is a generic method implementations. So polymorphism is basically it allowed to perform the same action in a different way. Okay. Either we can do perform same action multiple times by one object, or same action different way by using different object. So here the programming approach through polymorphism, if you do perform the same action by same class, okay, I mean to say same method with a different parameter is used by one class, we call as a method overloading. Okay, the same object is going to use the same method more than one times. And the another one is we call as method overriding, when we are going to use the same method with the same signature by different subclass object, we call as a method overriding. What exactly I'm trying to say here is whenever you design an application in such scenario, when you want to perform the one object should perform the same action multiple times. Okay, so we are basically go for the method overloading, and sometimes different subclass object they want to perform the same action. Different subclass object they want to perform the same actions, right, in a different way of approach, we call as method overriding stuff, right? So let's try to understand here in details. Method overloading, if a class has a multiple method having the same name but different in parameters, it is known as method overloading. Okay, if a class has a multiple method having the same method name but different in parameters, it is known as method overriding. I have a I have a student class object, right? Or maybe I can take a product class object. So many different customer, they just want to know the information of the same product in a different way of approach. Maybe one customer is looking for what exactly the brand of the product and what exactly the stocks are available. Okay, availability of stock. Maybe the another customer might have a different requirement, not the same. Okay, so what the other customer is looking for is the customer is looking for whatever the brand, no matter, I just want to know the product name and the prices and what is the discount price that I can get here. And another customer is looking for what exactly the product name and as well as the only prices. Okay, what are the product names are available and the prices. Maybe another customer is looking for brand name and prices and stock as well, right? So what exactly here is I just want to follow a generic functionality to perform a different action. That means I'm going to use the same method name, something called show product, but it is going to show the information in a different way of approach, right? Because here the customer requirement is different, right? So in that approach, in that scenario of your Java programming technologies, you are going to use the method overloading stuff. If you have to perform only one operation having the same name of the methods in which increase the readability of the programs. Let's go for a small example. Suppose you have to perform addition of given number, but there can be any number of arguments. If you write the method such as A is a method name for 2 parameters, B is a method name for 3 parameters, then it may be difficult for you as well as other programmers to understand the behavior of the methods because its names are different, right? So you perform the method overloading to figure out the program quickly. Means if the object is going to perform the same action, so why don't you use the same method name, right? Why should I use A, B, and C? What exactly it makes sense to someone who is going to review the code, right? So instead of we are going to use some undefined names, right? When you do when you are doing the same action, so it's better that you should follow the same method name, right? So what exactly you do, we are going to use the same method name, but the parameters should be a different here. So as you can see here, advantage of method overloading, I have a addition method, 1 parameter, same method name, 2 parameter, and same method name with the 3 parameters. So method overloading increase the readability of the program, means my object can know what exactly the action is which is going to happen repeatedly. Different way to overload the methods. So what are the rules? What are the rules you need to follow? By changing the number of arguments, by changing the data types. Okay. In Java, method overloading is not possible by changing the return type of the methods only. I don't think so. It's correct. It's possible. We can do that. We can change the return type also. So we can see here one example. Let's go for to write my example code here. Let me switch to my Java demo project that we are continuously working on everyday session. Let's go inside the same project and let's talk about to create a class over here. Okay. And I will create a new package called polymorphisms, where you can discuss the method overloading and method overriding concept. So let me create a class. I don't know, it's taking some time. Yeah. So new class. I will say application. Okay. And I will oh, I forget to let me delete this. I want to add some packages. Delete this. New class. First, let's create for a product class. Product class, and I have a package called Polymorphism. Makes sense. Now, this is not my main class. I will create another main class here. So my product class is there. Simply, I have created the entity in my package called Polymorphism, right? And then I will go for to create another class just for my main class. So which is my product, customer class. This is the main class from where my program should start the execution. Okay. Now I have different two class. I have a product class and I have a customer classes. So first let's go for the product class that I need to design the applications first. Before it should do some action, let's try to design the application as per the customer requirement. Okay. So what the customer requirement is, many customer maybe they want to see different way of approach to get the product information. So what I will do, I will use a common method here, public void show product. So I will say this product will let us know the product ID and string and float the price. Okay, and stock. Now same thing I'm going to print here, or else you can use the constructor also to initialize, but instead of that directly I'm taking a method only. So what I will print here, I will print that product in details I will say PID plus method has to print the same. So whatever we pass the parameter, so the product name plus same. I'm going to print like the price and stock also plus stock as well. Okay. Now I will use the same method. Let's do copy. Writing same thing here. I will say name and prices, not stock. So let's remove this. Without stock. I will say method name. I will say run. Okay, so I will remove this. Right, same methods I have a 3 times. Okay, so this is what I have a designed my application. Now we'll go for to develop for the customer stuff. Okay, design part is completed. Now we'll go for the development for my main method. So what I will do, I will simply create the object for product class. Product. Um, details. Product sort details. This is option. You can ask me if you have any question. application is ready to execute. Somewhere I have designed application and somewhere I have developed as per the option that has to be execute the same action. We can see every time I can see only this row product and object, same object is do the readability. So it's going to able to read the same methods and passing some different parameters as per requirement. So what exactly your choice here? What exactly you want to see product with the brand? Yes, let's go with. So it says that product brand details. There's laptop and Apple laptop is available. Stock is in 8 here. Okay. Now if you want to go with some other one, say I just want to see the product details in longer format. So that's one. You can say this is the product ID and laptop is the name of the product and the price is basically $900 and stock available is 12 here. Okay. Now if you want to see which brand, then you have to go with the option 3 here, right? And if you want to see some short details about without stock, only wants to see only the ID name in or something called the prices, then okay, let's go for this. Yes, have a same ID with name and the prices already. So what you can see here, the same method I'm using, right? Multiple times. I'm using only the same methods with the same object. So here I have designed the applications and in my main class, I have just called these methods passing the parameter. So I hope it makes sense for you about the method overloading. And you have some other examples and reference as for your requirement. Now let's try to we can change the return type also. So let me show you that also practically. If I want to change something here, return type, I can do here. Let me show you another method here. The same method I will use with a different return type. So let's keep this. And I can take only, let's say, product name, which returns only the product name. So remove all this stuff. It means I will pass only one parameter. And here we can, yeah, return type. I won't have any problem, right? So I can simply say,
Sorry.
so if I will call this method, I have to call in the SOP statement because it doesn't have any statement that need to execute or expose some data. So I should use a
Alone.
here. So you can see one method I doesn't have any return type and one method I have one more return type. The same method if I say no, I just want to need another method, something that can print only about the stock available. So what I can do again, I can change here with the integer return type. Okay. And maybe I can just have a method without parameter and I can just return the instance variables through constructor. So I can just have a constructor over here, product constructor, that also is possible. So I can have an integer or let's say something called um, uh, we can say um, locations. So where exactly the manufacturing is happening here, right? So that I can manufacturing location. You can see here when when I don't have a uh, when I don't have a parameter for the same method, right? So more than one time, then I'm getting an error here. Yeah, duplicate method. So product, the type of product. So that's with something unique, right? We cannot have a same method without parameter. So what I will do, this I will make it as stop. Okay. Now what I will do. So practically let's prove that the method when you do the method overloading, then you can have a different return type here, and you can call these methods. So let's go to the customer class. Simply can pass some parameter over here. Okay, so what exactly month is the location? I can say Chicago. Right. One more point, that case 4, and I can just return the values. Now, method overriding, the next step. If subclass, that is child class, has the same method as declared in the parent class, it is known as method overriding. So in method overriding, we do perform superclass and subclass. In other words, if subclass provide a specific implementation of the method that has been already provided by one of its parent class, it is known as method overriding. That means the method which you are going to develop in the child class, so that method is already existed in my superclass. The method which already exists in my superclass, and that's something we call as a method overriding concept. Means the same method is going to be implemented in different way of by its subclass object. Method overriding is used to provide a specific implementation of a method that is already provided by its superclass, and method overriding is used for runtime polymorphism. Yes, there are many different name or terminology we use. For method overloading, we call it as a compile time polymorphism, but method overriding, we can say runtime polymorphism also. Reason why you call it runtime polymorphism, because all these objects, they do decided their behavior during the runtime of the code, rather than they do have decided during the compilations. Okay, so during the runtime of the code, a specific subclass object, they do decided which action has to be performed. Okay, I mean which method has to be called. Now these are the rules we need to follow. Method must have the same name as in the parent class. Method must have the same name as in the parent class. All your child class, they do have the same name. Method must have the same parameter as in the parent class. Parameter also not going to be changed. Method name also not going to be changed. Then what about return type? No, here we cannot change any return type. Remember, we cannot change any return type. So there must be either relationship. That means inheritance. Okay. And then one more point is here, that can we override the static method? Not my question, interview questions, right? Can you override the static method? Not exactly. We cannot do that. Why we cannot? Because static method is belongs to class level, but here we are doing the overriding in object level, right? In different subclass. So that is the reason the static method cannot be override. Can we override the constructor? No, that is also not possible, because constructor is something, it is belongs to the class, so it is a special method of the class level, right? So that is also not possible. Can we override the final method? Answer is yours, right? Whether you can do or not. Okay, so here must be easier relationship. Now let's go ahead and see a small example. Class A, I have M1 methods, and it says that from class A, I'm a M1 method from class A, and B extended. You can see I'm a M1 method from class B. That means the same method has implemented, in superclass and as well as a subclass, right? So yeah, now let me go ahead to show you. Okay, so what I can do, I can create a class. You can call it. Yeah, same example I will show you in a different terminologies. We'll say my product class. Okay, so I have a method called public
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
In method overriding, if the parent class and the child class both have the same method name, so at the time of when we are running the application, so that time if we want to access the parent class method, so that time we have to use the super keyword, or it, is there any different implementation?
Look into the program, how I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to create a one more class. I'm going to override the method from my product class. Okay. Yes. So it is going to override the method from your super class. It is going to override the method from your super class. Okay. And now again I'm going to write new class. I will say yes. Okay. So there are two subclasses. They do override the same method from your super class with the same method name. I mean the same signature, right? So what exactly I'm going to do here? I'm just going to creating a main class that is a user class. Okay. And then here I will um, create the reference of my product. Okay, one. That's I just create a reference. I'm not creating any animation, just created a reference. Like how do you create a like something called variables for your integer type? Same thing I have created. P1 and P2 is a kind of a reference for the product class. Now I will do P1. I will just provide the implementation of the subclass object. Okay, I will say P1 new Amazon product, because they do have their own implementation by the subclass object. What exactly the Amazon product will do have a discount prices might not have the same thing to your Walmart, right? But they do provide the same implementations of the method, a common task which is already provided by its superclasses. So I will say p1 dot product. So Amazon product will have an ID name. Let's say something called um, laptop. Of every purchase of a laptop, you get a discounts for the festival season. You get a around $50. Okay, that is the discount prices. Now, again, I do provide the implementation of my product 2. So P2, where the instance will be created for uh, your Walmart class. I will say P2 equals P2 dot product. So I will say the product ID is 2. The is something called let's say same Dell laptop, Lenovo laptop, which is any Lenovo laptop. So Walmart, right? Because of the festive season, around something around $70, you will get a discount of every purchase of this. Here, let me just run this code. So as you can see here, we just have created the reference of the super classes, and they do create an instance for byte subclass, and I just call the method from this. So let's just call execute this method. Yes, you can see for the Dell laptop, this is what the discount prices. Lenovo laptop will purchase from the Walmart. This is what the discount that we get it. So the same method which is implemented more than one times by different subclass object. Now, next topics. We called as something called the method. What exactly that concept? During the runtime, if I'm going to change the object behavior, we call as a dynamic method dispatching concept, and that we perform only in the our runtime polymorphism, that is method overriding only. So I will say p2 equals to p1. Okay, I just want to initialize all the p1 data. Okay, all the p1 object data to the p2 object. So if I will say that Walmart data is it p2 dot okay, is here we have passed the value parameter. Let's do one thing. We will take another method. Where is my product class? Yeah, I will say public float Now, by default, it's going to return null. Okay, then I will be override in my Amazon product. So what I will do, same thing. So right click here, go to resources, and select override. So which method? So brand method, because first method already overridden, we go for this one. And I will say that super of so brand, I will return different one, not the super class method. I will say return of um say um apple. Okay. And now the same method I will override in Walmart. Say right click, again go to source, override, so brand, and I will say the brand, the Walmart is going to send me something called say um now let's go to the user classes, and I will say here to call the methods p2 dot. Let's run this code. See here in my P2 in the Walmart, I said that it should be written the word Dell laptop. If you look into this, but what exactly is going to written is written with the Amazon product brand, because the way how I have changed the object here, the way how I've changed dynamically, I have changed the object reference. So P1 method will refer to the P2, right? So when I will say P2 to show product, then it will just override the values for the something called Apple instead of it print the Dell laptop, right? So this concept in method overriding called as a dynamic method dispatch. During the runtime, we can change the object behavior, the subclass object, any subclass object. They can do change the behavior of any one of the methods that you want to initialize. Okay, so that's all about method overloading and method overriding. Now let's go over the encapsulation. Encapsulation simply means binding the object state, that means the properties, and as well as the method in one single unit. If you are creating a class, you are doing an encapsulation. Encapsulation is something which is going to binding the class properties and method in one single unit, in one single entity, and that we called the best example is a class. Because when you're creating a class, that means without creating an instance of that, employee classes, no any other outside object cannot get the employee informations, right? So here the class is going to say, hey, I am going to making the properties as a private, and I will not allow to change the direct accessibility to any one of the outside object, right? Until or unless I'm not going to share the setter and getter methods. Okay, so that is how the encapsulation. So encapsulation is something that it is one of the object-oriented programming principles where we achieve the security, right? So the any object, if they doesn't want to allow to direct accessibility by any one of the outside class objects or any one of the outside object, then simply they can do binding it, just making the properties as a private, and until they are not sharing the setter and getter methods. Means setter method is basically to update the data, and getter method is basically to read the data. Okay, So we can read the data and we can update the data by using the setter and getter methods. So if the setter and getter method is not there, then we cannot access those methods, sorry, those properties. The whole idea behind the encapsulation is to hide the implementation details from the user. If a data member is a private, it means it can only be accessed within the class, same class. No outside class can access the private data members or the variables of the other classes. However, if you set up the public's getter and setter method to update, for example, the setter method we use, and for read the data, we use the getter methods for employee classes, the private data fields, then only the outside object can access those private data properties via public setter and getter methods, right? So until or unless that I'm not going to write the setter and getter methods, none of the classes they can access it, right? So here we can see some example here that encapsulation have some classes and some private properties here we have declared. And here I've introduced my setter and getter methods here, set employee name or get employee name to read and write. And then only the another class is the encapsulation test is one more class. And I can set the values by using setter methods. Okay, only by the setter method only I can update the data and I can get it. If the classes is not introduced the setter and getter methods, then there is no other way to read those data, employee name or age, whatever it may be, from outside of this. What is the main advantage of encapsulation in Java? Why you use encapsulation? By providing only the setter or the getter method, you can make the class read only or write only. It improves the maintainability and flexibility and as well as reusability. Okay, we can maintain your code as per your requirement. We can add the new properties, so it's very easy to reusability. Let's say today I have a banking user classes. In the banking user, I have introduced the the customer name, customer user ID and password. Again, tomorrow it's mandatory that every customer should have a valid email ID and the passport number or something called any ID proof identity, right? So then all these properties that I can keep adding with the same classes, the same entity. So it is a reusability classes, and it's more flexibility to modify as per the data model that you wanted to keep changing as per the day-to-day business requirement. The user would not be knowing what exactly is going on behind the screen. They would only be knowing that what exactly it has to update, a field called setter method, and what the data has to be read, a field called the getter method through the setter and getter methods are doing is purely hidden from them. Other outside user object, they don't know what exactly the setter method and getter method is doing here, right? So I'm just going to giving my updated email address or my updated contact number whenever if I want to update in my internet banking services. But how it is going to happening, how it is going to update it, that's I don't know, right? That means it's something hiding the properties or the implementation part to the outside user. So I can just use those functionality which is for updating and just to get the data, that's all. So this is another example that you can just use it, okay, for your reference purpose. Access modifier in Java. What are the Java access modifier you can use and where you can use and its use? There are 4 access modifier. Again, it is very important for interviews. Okay, tell me about Java access modifier. There are 4 access modifier: public, private, protected, and default. Public means anywhere you can access. Protected means only the outside packages, anywhere you can access. So those access modifier you are going to apply for the constructor, you are apply for the methods, and you are apply for your what variables also. Okay, so we can apply as a public, we can apply as a protected, we can apply as a default also. So default also same like the protected only. And private, yes, as I said, it's only accessible within the class, not any other locations. Abstraction will see the next session because it's very important for the interviews. Abstraction and interfaces we'll talk about in the next sessions. Whatever you have discussed, go through the materials. On Monday I'm going to asking some questions. about method overloading, method overriding, about access modifier, about encapsulations, about inheritance. Okay. And the remaining two inheritance which is left, that we are supposed to cover up multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance. So that we'll discuss in the next session when we'll talk about interfaces. Any questions? Any questions from anyone? Do you have any question for me?
I can ask a question.
Yeah, please tell me.
Okay, I know we didn't talk about this keyword today, but I just want you to confirm that we can use this keyword as we can say that this keyword can replace the class name because it always refers to the current class, for example.
Yes, it is not going to replace the class name. Basically this and super both are the reference keyword. So always it is going to refer your current class object. That's all. It is not replacing the class. It is going to always refer to your current class object. And super keyword is always refer to your super class object from subclass. So when we're talking about a class, then what we can think about? Obviously, every class will have a constructor. Every class will have their own variables, that is the instance variables, and every class that they do have their method. Right, that's what we discussed before. So we can use this keyword to refer the current class methods, current class constructor, current class variables, or something called object. That's all. That's what we discussed.
Yes, okay.
Here now, it makes sense, Raine?
Yes, it makes good sense. Yes.
Yeah. All right, so have a good weekend. See you on Monday. Do some practice whatever you're talking in the last couple of sessions, and go through the materials. I'm going to ask some couple of questions in the first 15 minutes before I move forward with the abstraction and interfaces topics. Bye, and see you on Monday.
Bye. Bye. Have a
Uh,
good day.
Thank